Many people don't know about the Atlantean two-legged ankh. It has morphed into a one-legged and much later into a cross that lost its head. The ankh hieroglyph is a symbol of life. The ankh is often depicted in front of the face of Pharaoh Akhenaten to activate the breath of life. Breathing through the ankh can help guide the powerful healing energy of the breath. The ankh has the shape of a human body, but it is one-legged. The eye or loop of the ankh is the head. The horizontal part of the cross is the arms, and the vertical parts the legs. But again, it's one-legged. So we are supposed to hop around on one leg or what? Actually, it used to be two-legged. The balance between feminine and masculine energies. You need to stand on your both legs to be grounded. Think with your whole brain, left and right. Connected.
Really important is that, and I'll say this first, the original periodic table of elements wasn't a bunch of blocks with two towers for helium and hydrogen. It wasn't a two-tower system of blocks. The original periodic table of element, and remember, we are all of the elements. We are all of the elements. Was a spiral, and every element was graded on the spiral depending on their atomic weight. And so we've been taken away from a spiralic system of spirituality without anything divine happening in the spine. Everything's in a spin. Nothing in the universe does not spiral. Think of anything at all. Everything is in a spiralic nature. So we need to get with the up cycle instead of the down cycle and stay cycle. We need to move up. We need to elevate. We need to get back into form. We need to intake and give it back out. We need to be exhaustive of information. That's something that I always tell to people. The only way you can know the truth is if you speak the truth. And all these people that are very conceited by the empire, they're cheaters, they're liars, they are gamblers, they're all forms of corruption of the empire they were born into. They will never receive the truth because truth is energy. Everything's energy. That's proven in all forms of science. And I get a lot of people who are they're pretty corrupt minds, and they're like, oh man, I wish I could see things how you do, and I wish I could disseminate truth with clarity. And it's like, well, the moment that you set the intention to say, I want the truth, nothing but the truth, I want to live by the truth, I want to, that's when it starts coming in. So we need to start setting intentions. We need to start putting our own selves under our own spells instead of being cast under other people's spells. And we need to seek clarity with what's happening in the world. So you do have to sit in the truth. You have to sit with it, because it doesn't all just when you open up a damn wall, the water slowly comes out and then it finds its path, and then the wall breaks and everything gives and all the water starts to really flow. So there's always, there's always a way for, water to find its level path, and it's not through rushing. I've met a lot of people who come home from a festival and they're like, man, I'm a tradie and I had some DMT on the weekend and now I don't want to be a tradie anymore. I figured it out, man. We are one. That's the truth, nothing but the truth. And I'm now a healer. I'm a healer. It's you got to you don't choose these roles. No one ever chose to be the guide or the shaman. It was something that you were thrown under. And so all these people that are like, I'm a shaman, or you got to question what their true ego values are. And just to understand is like, you know, to not really get above the situation, but just to inner stand. You have to stand in the situation. You have to stand. And when you stand, you're not rushing. You're not going anywhere. You're standing. And that's the objection. And then
You're on one spot.
So even the word, if you want to use the word understand, but, you know, like preferably inner stand, because you're not under the law, which is where the word understand comes from. There's no rush.
Changed my language from understand to inner stand a long time ago. One, because I understood the contractual relationship with it, but two, because I resonated with the fact that I'm not ever standing under something. I'm always going to internalize it and feel it from that space to really get what it is. I love the etymology too. Etymology is one of the other things you open my eyes to, and it's been such an interesting journey around any word. It's like, hang on a second, what does that mean? And then you go down the path of working some of that shit out, and it's quite profound to really look at, like, what was I looking at yesterday? Integrity was the word. So that relates to integra, which is a mathematic word. And what it means is wholeness and complete as a part to a fraction. So I was talking about how most people in most situations are leaving integrity out of things. And what you said earlier about people wanting to come and do the work or claiming a name and all that sort of stuff, as far as like they're a healer, whatever, it's not acting out of integrity. You wouldn't want to do this job if you knew what it was.
You've got to have a really straight energy to be able to inculcate those energies and to be able to work from the purity of the healing nature. And a lot of people are just living in the dark, and that's why, you know, like there's a lot of reports of people who get healing sessions from people and they feel like really weird afterwards. And yeah, it's full of it in Australia. I know Australia is full of charlatans and people who claim to possess some values when it's not the common trait of an Australian to hold divine knowledge. They're one of the most sleeping nations on the planet, if not the most. And I say that with great experience. I'll tell you something. One of the things they don't want people knowing in school, and you can't disagree with this because it's the truth and nothing but the truth. One of the things they don't want people knowing at school is the battle between good versus evil. And that's why they're giving out all the temptations, and they're giving out all of the, you know, like all of the music in Hollywood now. You're not allowed to talk about, it's forbidden to talk about God in the music industry. You're not allowed to do it anymore. Lauryn Hill was the last person to ever be able to sing publicly about that particular word. And by God, I don't mean the man in the cloud. I mean source, which is where sorcery comes from. To be a sorcerer, you've got to be connected to source, which is godliness. And so, yeah, there's a war, there's a battle, and some people might not be prepared for that, but others, like I know myself, I'm like fighting on the front row, and sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming, you know, like sometimes you'll be like banned from every platform and you'll be like, well, it's time to spend now is the time to spend with my little, you know, daughter. She just turned a year old a few days ago, and now it's time to, like, you know, invest some time into my family. And it was actually thanks to being banned from the network that and having my payment platforms taken down that I'm going to be ready to shoot fire on the 22nd of this month from our new website, which I hope everyone stays alert for, because it's going to be pretty packed with magic. And like I say, you know, like there's black magicians in power and there's white magicians at practice also. There won't be any voodoo black magic involved with what I'm doing, and I'm ready to fight against all of that. And that's what I've always been ready for. I've been readied, and now I'm ready. And all I can say to anyone that's never perhaps heard me talk before about this type of thing is, if you want to find the truth about not most things, but everything, go to your school curriculums and then write down what they say, and then try to find the very opposite of all those things, and then put that into a story, and there you've got the truth. Because what they actually did with our knowledge was they reverted it, and then they gave us the opposite backwards version. So they would, you know, like instead of looking into the inner worlds to find the interdimensional beings, which are a definite thing that occurs, they've got us looking into outer space, looking for these aliens that we haven't found yet, and programmed from an opposing force of power. And they're powerful. They know what they're doing. Like when you go to their universities, and study their form of psychology, they're psychologists of thousands of years, and they've got every form of logged history of how the mind reacts to every scenario you can think of in their Alexandrian archives and the Vatican archives. They've got everything, all the knowledge hidden from the public. So when you go and pay like, $40,000 or get a loan, in Australia it's called a HEX. They used to call it a HEX. That's what the Australian university loans were called. And I worked for the tax office, so I know that that's what they're called. They're a HEX. And a HEX is actually a magic purse. And that's why the priest at the tabernacle stands under a embellishment in the ceiling called a HEX. They stand under what they call in their architecture a hex, because they're hexing the people. And that's why it's called an altar, because they're altering people's minds. But you need to recognize this. So the first step is recognition of we, the biological computers, that are easily programmable. And we are so easily programmable. And you might think this is crazy, but speed up, get with it, and know that the easiest way, first step to breaking the empire's spells, is to stand in yourself and to say, it doesn't have to be in perfect alignment with what I'm saying, but something along the lines of setting the intention that I want to be free. I don't want to be under their jurisdiction. I was born free. I want my family to be free, and I'm ready now. I am ready to be free, and I'm ready to be given all of the knowledge that I need. You might not be bombarded with all the knowledge that you need for life, but all the knowledge that I need to step into myself and to go forward on my way path to live my destiny, what I was destined to be. And you leave it at that. You don't have to go too far on it, but you're setting a curse. You're setting a precurse for your future, and you're setting an intention. Everything is energy. So what are our words? No doing anything until you've come to that agreement with yourself and the source primal energy. You need to formulate that spell work and watch what happens, because it's insane. And we need to come to our highest selves, but first we have to stand in ourselves. And, like somewhere along that standing in the inner self, what were our ancestors doing? That we need to remember that DNA and ancestry is inherently connected. And we need to understand that the reason why they took our ancestry away and they took all the tribes and put them in different places was so we couldn't seek our destiny. But all we need to do, somewhere along the way of seeking our destiny or the truth, is to go back to the land. Like, we need to snap out of it. We need to come back to the beauty of nature. Nature and nurture have the same word roots, because if you do not nurture nature, nature will not nurture you. And that's why a lot of people are in turmoil. A lot of people are like, I tried this antidepressant and that antidepressant, and now I'm more depressed and like thinking of killing myself today, but I'm going to go see the doctor first. And what are we not doing that our ancestors were doing, and what can we do about it? Our ancestry is the number one thing they tried to take from us also, right beside the battle between good and evil, because all our ancestors knew. Yeah, like I feel that whenever I worked for somebody else, whenever I was working within the empire, I was going mad. I was becoming something that I wasn't intended to become. And I was pretty hot-fired when things would happen in my workplace. Like if my boss ever said something that was quite disrespectful to me, I'd say, "You're a piece of shit. I'm not working here anymore. Fuck you." And I would walk out the door, and, sorry for my swearing, but it is, the words are in the dictionary. The amount of jobs that I actually walked out on and threw the towel in, and just, I don't understand how people can be like, "Oh, I hate my job. I'm going to live, I want to go to the land, but first I need to find another job, or I need to, I want to go to the land. I want to grow my own vegetables and fruits and raise my own animals. But first I need to think about what I'm going to do with kids in childcare and my job." Like there's all these things like a job is the Hebrew word for slave. And we just need to step away from that system. And the amount of people that I have actually helped to step out of that system without anywhere to go, because they think that there's not everything predestined to coming their way. It's already planned out rhythmically, sporadically. We need to get everyone to say, well, hang on, am I doing something that I don't want to do? Stop. Analyze. Stop doing it. Stop. No, don't go back to your job. Stop. Now, what do you want to do? Don't tell me you can keep working at your job while sitting at a peaceful place and thinking of what you might be able to do for the future. You don't have time for both of them. No one has time for both of them. And if you think you have time for both of them, good luck. Because I know while you're thinking about what you want to do in the future, you're still thinking about going to work on Monday. I know how that works. So.
What's that? And then, yeah, that's the thing, right? I think when you're in the job, it's hard to navigate anything. And what I found, I quit my job about, it's probably like 6 months ago now. And the hardest thing is that thing inside your head, the anxiety that's underlying that comes up and says, you're meant to be doing something. You're meant to be productive. And then I was like, no, you're fucking not. What's productive, right? There's this thing inside of us where we're not valuable unless we're doing something.
Yeah, it's really interesting how surprisingly easy it is to just leave the system that threw everybody overboard 400 years ago and say, well, that was easy. Now I feel free. What are my kids going to eat? Well, hello, like 90% of the earth is food, and it's all good. Just get to where you need to be.